Hi everyone, and welcome to one of my very first interviews on this platform, where I'm lucky enough to be interviewing the formidable Julie Kent, who is something of a Gloucestershire legend. She has a multitude of incredible achievements, including saxophonist, teacher, charity pioneer, and most recently she's been awarded an MBE. I'm really happy that she's given me some of her precious time to try and spread her inspiring story. But I should add that Mrs. Kent was my teacher, which is why I'm calling her Mrs. Kent. It just seems a little bit strange to call you Julie.
You can call me Julie,
It's so
Sydney.
strange. I can't do it. So we'll kick this off. And if you don't mind, I'd like to start with your teaching career that spanned over 30 years. So what was it like to be in charge of 60 teenage girls in a boarding house?
It was great fun, I have to say. And I was I was a house mistress for 24 because I was a day house mistress in Meath before, and then went into boarding. And it was easier with two young children to be in boarding, definitely. But when I look back, I consider it to have been an honour, really. You know, the ages of 13 to 18 are tricky ages for all teenagers, but specifically girls because they're so emotional. And when I look back, I just think it was such an honour to share the lives of so many young girls. And you know, when their parents dropped them off when they were 13, I used to say to the parents, you know, you're giving me a young girl, and in 5 years' time, I'm going to hand you a young woman. And that is, it's an honour, honestly.
Absolutely. And do you have any sort of standout one-off memories from that time? Any funny moments? Any really proud moments?
Oh, so many proud moments. I mean, whenever we won the house shout, which was very often, let's face it, or whenever we won, you know, A and B netball, whenever we won anything, or sometimes just seeing a girl maybe who was really shy when they came in, and then in sixth form you'd see them on a stage doing something. I'd be so proud then, or you know, that sort of thing, or getting a whole string of A's at GCSE, and when they came in they said, oh, I'm not good at anything, you know, that sort of thing was amazing. Funny times, you know, I don't know if you were there when we did the fire alarm, and then the porter came along and put a sackcloth over me and bundled me into the back of a van, and we had a treasure hunt, you know, crazy things, taking 60 girls to the cinema, you know, that sort of thing, and then all singing hymns on the bus, the public bus, all the way home, you know, crazy times that were really good fun, you know, that I look
Yeah.
back
I
fondly.
suppose the most amazing thing must have been sort of the transformation you saw in people, because you had them sort of solidly for 5 years, and that's like
Yeah,
a period of
yeah. I
time.
mean, some of the girls spent more time with me in 5 years than they did with their own mums, because their parents might live, you know, a long way away, Abu Dhabi, and military families, you know, that move around a lot. So they could never go home at the weekend. It was never an option for them. And that's why I used to try and organise a lot of things at the weekend to try and keep even the local girls to stay. And they used to say, oh, what are we doing this weekend? You know, and then they would decide whether to go home. Some would just go home for a Sunday roast and then come back on a Sunday evening, because the more girls around, the better, I always thought. And I people my age looked back at their boarding days with dread. You know, they had really ferocious house mistresses, and so I wanted the girls in 20 years' time, when they were telling their children about their boarding days, to, you know, be saying what a great time they had, and that it was really enjoyable. So that was, you know, each weekend I think, right, what can we do this weekend?
I suppose that's what stood out for me. It was like a real, because I joined later, it was like a real
Yeah,
family. You just had to find your place and slot in,
yeah,
because everyone had
yeah,
their rhythms and knew what they were doing with each other.
yeah,
Great.
yeah.
So I'm going to move on to your charity work. So you've talked quite openly about the loss of your daughter Emily to a brain tumor, but what made you decide to turn to charity work in particular, and how has it helped you?
Well, when she first died, um, you know, this is just so tragic. It's just so awful that doing something positive helped us. And also at the time, it was hard to get scans to find out how her chemotherapy was doing, because the young children had to be anaesthetized and we could never get a slot because there was only one set of anesthetic equipment. So when she first died, we decided to raise money for that so that other families could hopefully be scanned quicker to see how their treatment was progressing. And then it kind of snowballed, and you know, children in Gloucestershire, we were approached to buy things for children that maybe had had a lot of treatment and were going back to school and might need a special buggy or a laptop or things like that. And so, you know, we kept it going for 6 or 7 years. But in that time, we then had Ollie and we had Georgia. And then we felt that we needed to give them our time as well, besides the fundraising. And so because, you know, I sort of probably got the bug for organising things and raising money. I continued by raising money for Click Sergeant and breast cancer. You know, school was a great place to put on events, and certainly the pink dinners were really popular because most women know someone that's been touched by breast cancer. So we did a lot of that. And then, of course, I became head of community action, and that opened up so many charity opportunities for pupils and for the charities themselves. And it made the pupils realise what was going on in our community and how they could help, really. So it just seemed like something natural to, it just evolved, and I just kept moving, you know, and charities then contacted me and said, oh, can you do something for us, and can you do something for us? And it was great that, you know, the pupils at Dean Close could get involved in it.
Definitely. And you can still see it even now when people sort of put themselves forward. We've done so much stuff recently, and it's like we sort of call it the Julie Kent effect, because you've just created a sort of legacy where we just want to help people in our community.
And the
And
thing is, it is so good for you, and I'm reading about it all the time. And you know, obviously, people are struggling with mental health issues in this climate. And you know, if you the whole essence of giving to someone else makes you feel good, and it also, the person that you're giving to, it makes them feel good. So it's such a win-win situation. And also, people that see people giving, it has a ripple effect. So it's just so important that we think about other people and not ourselves, really.
absolutely. And this work, all of this work, has led to you receiving a whole host of awards, but most notably your recent MBE. But what do these sort of accolades mean to you when you receive them?
It's a bit it's a bit strange. I mean, 2018 was a crazy year when you know, I opened a paper and found out that I was named as one of the 50 greatest women in Gloucestershire, which my husband thought was hilarious. Also named along people that were dead. And at the racecourse, at Cheltenham Racecourse, there's actually a bronze plaque that has got my name on, along with the other 49 women. Yeah, it's very hard to take a photo of because it shines back at you.
Oh, that's annoying.
And then carrying on in that year, we went to a big award ceremony, and I ended up winning the outstanding woman in the charitable sector in the south, which just in the west, and that just was, you know, weird. And then the MBE is just kind of, well, unbelievable. And you know, it's not something that you think about. It's not something that you just think you would ever get, really. And I just do what I do, you know, I just roll on, I do what I do. And obviously I am extremely honoured. And when I go, and in fact, the day that the email came through, you know, I was really emotional, and so was Bern. But and I will be emotional when I go to collect it, obviously, but I don't really sit around and think about it. I just carry on to the next thing.
Well, here's another question. How on earth did you manage to keep it a secret for so long?
Oh, that was the worst thing. 4 months. Because initially the email said you can't tell anyone until autumn. Well, when is autumn? You know, you think, when is autumn? September. I kept Googling, when is autumn? And then just about 10 days before the 9th of October, the text came through and it said, it is going to be announced at 10:30 p.m. on Friday, October the 9th. You still can't tell anyone until then. Well, actually, I invited my sister over for supper and that night, and I did tell her at 7:30 p.m. because I thought she's going to be here now until it's going to be announced. She can't tell anyone. And but you know, oh yeah, and in fact recently Cheltenham Open Door have been awarded a legacy, and quite a big legacy, from a lady in Cheltenham that died. And I've known about that for 3 months, and I wanted to tell our staff at Christmas, but it still hadn't come through. And so I told them at a meeting 2 weeks ago, and the manager said, how did you manage to keep that? I said, I have kept an MBE secret for 4 months. Now I can keep any secret at all.
People are going to start relying on you for it.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I've always actually, when I had all you girls, I was very good at secrets.
that's true. But just finally, you retired from your teaching career last year, but of course the pandemic meant you couldn't have the end you expected or deserved. So, but how has retirement been treating you, and how have you been keeping yourself busy?
Oh, I'm very busy. Well, as chairman of Cheltenham Open Door, we're trying to find bigger premises because we won't be able to fit all the people we're feeding now. We're feeding 80 people instead of 50, and Christmas Day we fed 85. So that keeps me busy. Pied Piper, you know, that has been really busy trying to think up virtual events in the pandemic, because we're over £100,000 down on last year because we couldn't have any of our events. Goals Beyond Grass is also trying to think up virtual events. And I've obviously been trying to launch, you know, a speaking career, and I've been doing a lot of interviews on podcasts, and my own podcast starts next week. So I am really busy, it seems.
We always knew you would be.
I know.
So thank you so much for your time, Mrs. Kent. Every time I hear your story, I'm always sort of inspired to work harder and just do more, because I don't know how you fit all that you do into your day. And it makes me feel like I can just fit more in. And I really hope that anyone listening, if anyone is, feels the same way.
Yeah, and do something. What I would say to everyone is, you know, if you can't give money, give time to other people. And just even if it's, you know, getting a friend together, having a little coffee morning and donating to a local community charity. Do it.
What a message to end on, Mrs. Kent. Thank you.